Okay, so hopefully you can hear me. I have just tried a new streaming service called StreamYard, and I have no idea if it works. So please let me know if it works. All right, so I'm just going to record a couple of different tips for using harmony today. Harmony is something that people struggle with. If you don't have a push or if you're away from your studio, there are a couple of really interesting tools that we can use. So I'm going to just go through a couple of them, and these are some that I use with my students. So I've already tested these, and there's 3 tools we're going to go through. Let me just check that it's working. Hopefully this won't create feedback. It looks like it's working. Hopefully this won't. Yes, good. Okay, so the first one I've discovered with some of my older students, which is this one called Chord Player. So Chord Player, what I like about this, and if you've used something like Hook Theory, this is kind of similar, but it allows you a bit more customization. So in terms of customization, what I mean by that is switching between minor and major scales in one go, which is something I find really annoying on the push. You can't switch between scales quickly because often we, especially for minor, we have 3 different types of minor that we often use in classical composition. So why I like this one is because it's not locked. You can change it. So on my computer keyboard, I'm going to just select it here. It's just a little bit intense, this compression. On the computer keyboard here, what I've done is if I press Shift, it will then change the inversion or the major minor of the chords. So I'm just going to reset it to normal because I played with it a bit before. If you press a letter on the keyboard, so for example, C, this is letter Q, or A if you're on a AZERTY keyboard. We can just play across the different chords. There are different styles as well. So it's quite useful. We can switch between scales. We can switch between the instruments. Maybe I'll just check on a Rhodes sound. Cool. Now, you can record your chord progression down here. And what that allows you to do is then loop it and also save it. So I'm just going to go through and make a chord progression. What you can do is press Shift on the computer keyboard to change to minor. So this is what I find really useful. So C major, C minor. So you can switch between the 2 types. So I'm going to make those 4 chords. So it's going to be C, record. The chords C, A flat, F minor, and then G major. So switch between 2. This is in the major key, in the minor key, in the minor key, in the major key. So that's why it's a bit different from before. So let's just have a listen. Play. Why is it not doing it? Seems to be not playing at all. Okay, well, just going to reload it. So what we can do is we can download this. So it's particularly useful if you don't have any of your MIDI instruments near you. If you don't have a keyboard or something, you can kind of create chord progressions here. So the way to do that is to export the MIDI file. So I'm just going to click Export, Chords 1, whatever. It's also really useful because you can then learn inversions. If you click, I think it's Control, you can create diminished chords along the bottom. If you press Alt, it creates 7th chords. If you press CMD, it will create the interval inversions. So that's really useful for practicing your harmony as well. What happened to it? So I can press Control, but if I press Control Q, it's going to quit the app. So just be careful of the different ones. And if you press Tab, you've also got melody there. So I'm just going to go and put in sevenths. Yeah, so you can switch between dominant seventh and major seven as well. You've got lots of things. So maybe I will change this one to a major seven. Edit. C major seven. There we go. So C major seven, A flat, F, and G. Let's just check that. And then you can import that into Ableton. So that's what I'm going to do now. Well, I just saved the MIDI already, so I'm just going to grab it from over here. So here are my chords, MIDI, and drag it in. I've already got a Rhodes track ready. Okay, so that gives me a bit of something to start with. You can also go back to the chord. Where is it? Go back to the chord maker and switch between melody and examples. And again, if you like the chord progression but you don't like the style, we might want to change the rhythm. For example, dance. No. That's pretty cool. Let's try that. Not sure if it will fit in Ableton. I'm going to grab that one and I'm going to download it. Again, as a MIDI, chords. I'm going to try and chuck that in and then I'm going to split it across 2 tracks. So here's my downloads folder, chords 1, drag it in here. So what I can do is I can split this. I'm going to make a second track here that's going to be our bass. Bring that down. So no. Sure. We'll use that bass for now. Okay, so I'm going to grab this and put it over there. And then I'll just split the chords and the bass. So I can just going to delete this part here. And I'm going to have that as the bass part. And I'll remove the bass part from this. So all that low octave part. Cool. So it's pretty basic, but what you can do is kind of customize it there from what you've started with. Again, very simple, very useful though if you are without your instruments or you're starting off or teaching. So, I mean, I use this to start teaching about diatonic triads. So we can go from diatonic, simple diatonic triads, 7th diatonic triads, dominant 7th diatonic triads, etc. Okay, so I'm going to show you how you can then build on this and create melodies. So another option is the hook theory. Not sure if anyone's used hook theory before, but hook theory is kind of like this, but it's a bit more advanced and has a couple of different features. So if you're trying to build up your theory knowledge, hook theory is quite good. It kind of supports the piano roll thing. So I'm just going to go hook musical sketchpad to show you how this works. Try for free. What I don't like about this one, that this one does have, is that you can switch between major and minor. And that's quite useful. Hookpad looks like it's locked in major. So that becomes a little annoying because that's, yeah, just annoying. So I'm going to try and create the chord progression that I had here, which was C, A flat, F, and G. So that would call this number 1, which is great because you're thinking in the time. A flat, F, G. A flat doesn't exist in this key, so it's going to be 6, 4, 5. But this 6 needs to be... Yeah, so we can, but it's not straightforward to do. Borrow from minor. It's not so bad. So that's our first. That's the same chord progression we got here. Now, what's good about Cook Theory is you can also do melody. So I could write, it says type 1 to 7 notes, H, J, K, L to change duration. So I'm going to change it to a short note. It stays within the key. So you can just adjust it just like on a piano roll. Again, similarly, you can export the MIDI. Export MIDI. And there we go. Oh, yeah, you need to buy HookPad, of course. I previously worked with a student who subscribed to this, so he found it very, very useful. But again, you can do all this within Ableton. It's quite simple, but it's a good visual layout to creating the same kind of idea. Chords. What's different with this one is it talks about Roman numerals. So the Roman numerals indicate which number of the chord is. So here it doesn't tell us the Roman numerals, which is a bit of a problem or a bit of a shame, but it is more direct. It tells us C minor. So it does sell it down here as well, but the Roman numerals is really useful. I find that very good to teach with. But anyway, there's 2 tools about creating harmony. I'm going to show you another one for creating melodies. Again, another simple tool if you find yourself away from all your instruments. This is sometimes just another way to start thinking about it. So there's another sequencer, the one that I use with my younger students. This one called Crow Music Lab. Now, this kind of exploded on the internet a little bit before because people started making like pop song versions of it. It's just a sequencer. That's all it is. We just have a drum sequencer down the bottom, which I won't be using because compared to Ableton, this is child's play. But melody sequencer is actually quite good, and we can export it as MIDI. So I'm just going to show you the settings. You can change the length if you want to make it an 8-bar loop. Similarly, Ableton Learn Music has something like this too, but I'm going to start with something really simple because if you're just beginning, this might be a really easy way for you to start. Scale major, let's say we want it to be pentatonic. Starts on middle C, octave, range, good. So, yep, it's a pentatonic scale. Good. So pentatonic will have less clash notes in it. That might be interesting. So you can create chords by making them all at the same time. You can create melodies that go up by drawing up like this, and you can make melodies that go down by going down like that. So often good to create a combination of like chordal notes and melodic notes. So you can just randomly click and see what happens. Let's see how this first part starts. I'm just going to make it 4 bars instead. Didn't change. Interesting. So far. Great. Sounds weird on the marimba, so I'm going to change it. Not piano. Terrible string sound. Okay, so I've just selected it randomly for now, but now what it might be able to do is click save, and it's not working. Great. Usually when you click save, you have an option to export as MIDI and export as WAV file. It's not letting me do that now. I'm going to just try and load the song again. Let's just see. Yes. Save. No, not letting me. I literally talked with this earlier in the week and it let me do that. Maybe. No. Okay, well, that ruined it. But usually you can save it as a MIDI file, and similar to what we did, we can save the MIDI file and we can bring that MIDI file back into Ableton, and then we can kind of change it there. We have a bit more customization within Ableton. I'm really confused why this is like that. I'm just going to see if I can open up Safari and with another browser, maybe download it, because it's being annoying. Nope, Safari won't even open it. All right, we're going to try incognito mode. And no luck in incognito mode either. Okay, I cannot demonstrate to you what I meant, but I'll move on either way. So, yeah, the Chord Player and the Chrome Music Lab can be used together if you want to have them synchronize like their harmonies together. So again, what we talked about was having like C major or C pentatonic. If you want to change in Chord Player, C major or different scales, you can do it here. And then obviously if you've set the scales together, you can bring them, the two MIDI files together inside Ableton and have a bit more control of change them. You can change the instruments, you can change the bass, you can add different drum parts and redo the drum parts. So this is a really good way for people to get started if you are beginning out or if you are away from your studio. I'm really annoyed that Chrome Music Lab is not working because that has just ruined it. Okay. I was going to demonstrate how you can then build something with that, but no. Anyway, I can show you a bit of how we do it in Ableton without that. So I'm going to grab analog. I'm going to create a MIDI clip here. So just double click to create a MIDI clip. I'm going to make this MIDI clip 4 bars long. Okay. Now, what is kind of useful in this Chrome Music Lab one is that it's locked to a pentatonic scale or a major scale. Okay. So we can do that in Ableton. And the way we would do that is by first drawing in the notes we want. So I'm going to write a pentatonic scale. And the notes are C, D, E, G, A. All those notes. And I can click then fold. That's it. I might want to actually double the octave. So we have a couple of octaves of it. And then fold. And then we have all of our notes here that we're not going to use. So I'm just going to put them out of sight of the clip so we don't see them. When I click play on this analog loop, going to just stop those for the moment. What we can do here is, and then set the size of the window. So to do that, you can do Command 2 or Command 1. So you can see the size of these. Just show you the size of these are getting smaller or bigger. It depends on how long you want the notes to be. So I can now just double click and it will create a note there. So similar to what we had in the Google Chrome Music Maker, we've got different notes we can just double click and add in. You can also press B on the computer keyboard in Ableton, just draw them in. So I'm just going to try and draw in some notes. I might try and create a couple of chords as well. I find this a really useful way to get students started with Ableton because it can be very daunting with all the functions that Ableton can do. So sometimes just creating a simple sequence is easy. I'm just going to grab a different guitar unplugged. It's slow though, really. So I might just double the speed. No. most of my progression is actually in minor, so I might actually just switch this around and go MIDI effects, scale, C minor. So you can just switch them around really quickly like that with the Ableton MIDI device. I might just switch it back for a second. So again, we can use some MIDI transform effects to create this longer or shorter. I'm going to go duplicate loop, and then this time I'm going to just duplicate loop, select some of these, and I'll just bring them up, for example. I'm going to bring them up 2 spots. Oh, it doesn't allow me to. Anyway, just transform it a little bit, see if we can get a transposition. Again, you can do things like reverse or invert, and that will really change how the MIDI melody is. Again, we could create legato notes. If I click legato, there's only a couple of gaps, so it doesn't really do much. But that's how you could start with something really simple like Google Chrome. Very, very simple thing. Bring it in, use other tools like the Chord Maker. And so this is, the website is onemotion.com/Chord Player. So really useful for starting out and for young students. Hook theory is a bit more intense, and in terms of theory, it's a bit more advanced, but I still prefer Chord Player, to be honest. This has Roman numerals, but this I find more functional. And then you can use this as a basic sequencer if you like the pretty colors and not the pretty colors in Ableton. We have more MIDI transform effects here though. So just remember you've got all these effects like MIDI reverse, MIDI invert, duplicate loop. You can also just select a whole bunch and transpose them. So let's say I wanted to bring these down one, I wanted to bring these up. Just press up or down on the computer keyboard. Okay. So the stream provider that I'm using right now is not passing the test. So I'm not going to continue the stream much more because I'll do the rest next week on Restream. Just wanted to test out using StreamYard and see if I could do multi-streaming, and apparently no. And it also is a much worse service. I can hear a huge echo in my earphones. I'm not sure if you can, but to me this sounds and looks terrible, so I won't be using this one again. Sorry, StreamYard, but back to Restream it is. Okay, well, if you have any questions, you can post in the Facebook team. That's facebook.com/lostbeat. We have a group for the Ableton lessons as well. So if you want to post in there, any questions, next week, Saturday, 15 hours CEST. Okay,